What's up and welcome back to the Kind of Funny Gamescast for Thursday, December 5th, 2024. Of course, I am your host, Tim Geddes. I'm joined today by the Big Daddy himself, Greg Miller.
Hello, Timothy.
And joining us, it's the best voice in the business, Paris Lilly.
What's up, Tim?
Always good. Always good to have you, Paris. I'm excited for this crew. I'm excited for the energy that we might bring today as we review Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Yeah, there he is.
He's right there behind you.
You'll love that. It's been a long time coming, but we're finally about to give our thoughts on Machine Games' latest. We're doing that because this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every weekday, we get together to talk about the biggest reviews, previews, and topics in video games live on YouTube, Twitch, and podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, please support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and you get a daily exclusive show that we like to call Greg Way. Greg?
Yeah.
What have the Greg Ways been recently?
I reviewed yesterday. They're always a banger with me. All right. First off, today, Snowbike Mike did it. So that's a big one for you. All right. You know, it's going to be crazy. Yesterday, I reviewed Superman, the documentary about Christopher Reeve. You got that going. There's always a fun Benny story in there from that. Some video game takes. You know, you got it. I'm reviewing things. I'm talking magic. I'm having fun over there.
And what's cool, if you're a Kind of Funny member, you can watch the old Greg Ways as well.
You right now, it's the beginning of the month. You went in, you became a Kind of Funny member. You have literally 9 years of content to catch up on.
Go for it, everybody. 9 years of Greg Miller. For a chance to be part of this show, though, no, we can't do it. You can't super chat because we're technically not live right now.
This is a YouTube premiere
right here. This is a YouTube premiere. Why is that, Greg? Just off the top of your head.
They have what I would call a little bit of an funky, wonky donkey embargo for this one, of a 4 p.m. Pacific time embargo for indie. So usually we say, oh, we'll wait for the Gamescast, but we want the Gamescast to be timely and be the most important thing, and the indie review is a big deal. So today we're like, you know what? We will pre-record the Gamescast. We will load it for 4 p.m. We will pop there. Of course, this is the global launch of it in early access as well. December 9th is the official release date, but Xbox does early access. And then, of course, depending on where you are in the world, your time zone, even if we were waiting for December 9th, it'd be December 8th in America, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So that's why we're here right now on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames as a premiere. But still, leave your questions and comments. I'm sure the chat's going to have a great time answering for you.
They got to talk on Friday. There's got to be some kind of Funny Games daily, you know, a follow up, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't really have to be. I'm not here either, so I can't do an FAQ. So that actually doesn't make sense.
You'll be back eventually.
Go watch Greg Way and put him into that chat, into those comments, and I'll respond there.
Remember, we are an 11-person business, all about live talk shows. Today, you already got, I'm sure, an amazing episode of Kind of Funny Games Daily, and then a stream that was Mike and Bless looking for love in an FMV game. Another stream that I'm sure was an absolute classic here.
Oh, yeah, you know how it's got to be.
And then if you're a Kind of Funny member, you're getting today's Greg Way, like Greg was saying. It's Snowbike Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
What's he going to talk about? We'll have to wait and see, but I'm sure it's going to be good.
How short his shorts get, I bet.
He doesn't got short shorts.
He's wearing
Mike's
shorts right now,
boy.
I can tell.
Okay, actually, I'm seeing a lot of thigh.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Thank you to our Patreon producers.
Do you like that he's like Batman? It's like if there's an XCast set, if there's a green thing, he's just over there in the darkness watching.
He's there. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Delaney Twining and Carl Jacobs. Today we're brought to you by Shady Race and Aura Frames, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's start with the topic of the show. It's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Developer Machine Games, publisher Bethesda. Release date is technically December 9th, but like Greg was saying, early access is going right now. So that's why we're here with this weird 4 p.m. Pacific embargo. Greg, we have you here. We have Paris here. Mike's just over there listening. Why is that?
I think Mike just really likes us. I think he likes us and he likes video game talks. I think Mike came over and watched me play Indiana Jones and the Great Circle for a good 45 minutes. And so I think he might just want to know how it all shakes out.
Yeah. And you're the only one that got the code.
Correct. Paris had a code too, obviously, but for Kind of Funny locals, we're only one code was shared here at the office, and it was me.
So that's why it's the cast.
Mr. Uncharted
is right now. And then Paris, of course, you've played as well. Before we get into your actual thoughts on the game, I do want a little bit of history from the two of you of your history with both Indiana Jones as a franchise, but then also your history with Machine Games.
Okay. Interesting one, yeah.
So, Paris, and also I want to know, did you beat the game? Let's start there. Paris?
I have not, because we got code kind of late. and it was over the holiday and had family. So I had to kind of power through here during the week. I will finish it. By the time people watch this, I'll be completely done with it. But I had played enough that I feel pretty confident to discuss the game.
I always love getting into the inside baseball of that. Yes, terrible turnaround on this review code. Of course, we're kind of funny. We talk about games in a very different way, I think, than most. Delivered on Friday after Thanksgiving. We are recording the Wednesday following that. So 5 days, you know what I mean? Maybe if we would have been able to do this at 4 p.m. live, a sixth day, but still, for a game that has this much going on, pretty shitty embargo for that.
But have you beat it, Greg?
I have beaten it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
14 hours later, I have rolled credits on The Great Circle.
Cool. All right, so Paris, Indiana Jones. How big a fan are you?
Huge. I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. I literally grew up with Indiana Jones. Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of my favorite movies ever. I have fond memories of, Short Round, Dr. Jones, the whole Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade was fantastic. Not a fan of the last two movies, though. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and...
Knowledge was their treasure.
Yeah. So I come into this basically being a huge fan of the original trilogy, so to speak, but I think the last two movies didn't land where they should. But I'm, and even the series, the young Indiana Jones stuff, I was a fan of as well. So yeah, I would consider myself a huge fan of Indiana Jones.
Greg Miller, what about you and Indy?
This is a great question, Timothy. And I had a very big realization playing the game. I enjoy Indiana Jones, full stop. I enjoy watching the movies when they're on. I'll stop and look or whatever. But I would never say I'm a huge fan or a big fan or anything like that. In playing it, I had this really look in the mirror moment of oh, the way I feel about Indiana Jones is how you guys always describe how a normal person feels about Ghostbusters. Where it's people really. I'm glad everybody enjoys this. I enjoy Indiana Jones, but I've never been like, bro, I need to dress as him. I need a whip. I need to do this. I need more. I've never been that guy for Indiana Jones. I enjoy what I get and move on with my life kind of thing. It's like I always describe Jen with Ghostbusters where, 8 years ago to Jen, Ghostbusters was a movie she saw once and had fine feelings about. Never thought her life would be defined by it later on.
Good Lord.
She'd be unable to escape the no ghost logo.
Exactly. And then, let's switch over to Machine Games then, Greg.
Sure.
What's your history fandom of the Wolfenstein games?
My fandom of the Wolfenstein games, I would always say, is non-existent. I've never disliked them, but a first-person shooter that's a shooter has never been my jam, right? I want a narrative. I want characters. You've known this. I think people who know me know this quite well. So I have played the Wolfenstein games, for sure beat New Order, and then it gets hazy on how much I ever did, because it strikes me a lot as the same thing with Call of Duty. Dude, this campaign sounds awesome. I'm going to jump in, and I jump in, and eventually I'm like, all right, I don't like this moment-to-moment gameplay. So as a huge fan of, Uncharted, the pulp action genre, right, that is sprung out of the DNA of Indiana Jones, I was very excited to finally enter into a game from Machine Games where I was like, from the ground floor, this is something that's up my alley.
Yeah. It's interesting because I'd say the Machine Games, Wolfenstein games, are a bit more narrative focused.
They are,
so while they are more shootery.
BJ Blazkowicz and the Nazi thing, and we're fighting giant mecha robots and stuff. It's just never, that's just not my cup of tea in terms of a narrative, right?
Gotcha. Harris, what about you?
I'm a fan of Machine Games as well, as far as the Wolfenstein games go. Youngblood was disappointing of them, but first one, and then Wolfenstein 2, and what was it? Old Blood, right? That was kind of like a little DLC thing they had as well. Yeah, I love those. I thought they were great, but Youngblood did not land for me at all, and we'll obviously get into this now with Indiana Jones. I was very curious to see how they were going to follow that up. And here we are.
And here we are. Let's get into it. I want the thoughts on the new on Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Greg Miller, kick us off. What would you give Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on the Kinda Funny scale?
On the Kinda Funny scale, I think Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a 6.5. I think it is an okay video game. I think it's very close to being good. I also think it's very close to being mediocre. The problem I have, which I'm sure I will monologue about many times in this, and I hopefully monologue many times about the things they do right, because there is a lot they do right here. But what I think you see, or at least through my eyes in my very subjective review, is two things getting mashed together, and you could almost visualize being in the Machine Games office, whiteboard up there, and be like, "What is Indiana Jones? It's Harrison Ford. It's the hat. It's the whip. It's adventures. It's temples. It's puzzles. It's this. Yes, yes, yes." But that's the movie. What is an Indiana Jones video game? And I think they made some choices there that really detract from making this the definitive, oh my God, this is an amazing game. I think the open zone, because it's not open world, but open zone nature of it is a detriment to it. I think they want you to explore, and they give you very few things to glom onto. I think that they just fail to make exploration fun in this game. I think the game struggles to be intuitive, and I think that's a whole bunch of them piling on video game systems that don't need to be here in terms of, hey, let's have upgrades, hey, let's have currencies, hey, let's have, like, they missed the mark on these, and that holds back the entire experience.
Wow. That well said. Paris, with your how many hours have you put into the game?
I mean, I think I'm probably 12-ish.
Okay, great.
So that's why I know I'm pretty close to being done with it. I'll knock it out tonight. But yeah, about 12 hours. I'm very close to the end of it. So like I said, I had played the vast majority of the game to be fairly confident to give a score here. And ironically enough, I'm listening to Greg, and in my head, I had a lot of these same thoughts as I was playing the game. Score wise, I'm probably going to be a little higher, and I'm going to say a 7. But it's the nostalgia of I'm an Indiana Jones fan.
Sure.
That gets it up to a 7. So I struggled a lot with this, like my thoughts about how I was going to present this, because I feel that if you take this as a proper sequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark, fan-effing-tastic as far as a story goes. This should have been an animated movie, honestly, more so than a game, because of everything that Greg's talking about. They made a mistake with the open zones. I think this should have been a more linear game, because I quickly realized once you got to the Vatican, because I did the preview, so I only played like a little snippet of the Vatican during the preview. But now playing it full on, I realized, man, I'm backtracking a lot in this. This is not necessarily fun. I understand what they were trying to do is from a discovery exploration standpoint, because, you know, you go off the beaten path a little bit, you find these secrets, you can kind of get the points, you get the books, you can upgrade indie, stuff like that. I get all of that. It got monotonous, honestly. It really did. I mean, I would get to, you know, a puzzle or whatever, and none of the puzzles felt overly challenging, like I was beating my head against the wall. But, you know, I'd have to think a little bit. I'd have to go through my notes to figure out, oh, okay, now I see what I need to do, and you would solve it. The combat just did not land. It unfortunately it did not. And that was my work. Is if you go back and watch the preview when we talked about it then, I was a little concerned then about the melee and getting into the combat, and it never, even as I upgraded Indy, it never advanced to where I was hoping it would be. And again, I bring in the Machine Games DNA as a first person shooter, you know, single player experience. They didn't do that. I think the best way I can describe this is they tried to be a jack of all trades, but they're a master of none, because there's stealth elements in this, but you didn't really land it. Mm-hmm. There's melee in it, but you didn't really land it. There's gunplay in it, but you didn't really land it. You know what I mean? The puzzles is probably the strongest gameplay element that they have in here, but they're not enough to carry the game, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Positives. The voice acting in this is fantastic. I mean, again, Troy Baker is Indiana Jones.
Troy Crush is this. Yes. As somebody who knows Troy so well and would consider him a personal friend, right? The way that I'm playing and being like, oh, right, this is Troy. Like, I'm lost in the fact that this is Troy. He's doing such a good job being Indiana Jones. Not being Harrison Ford, being Indiana Jones. I think that's incredibly impressive, let alone the cast he's surrounded by, whether it be our big bad villain, right? The late, great Tony Todd, who I think they don't do enough with, but he's there, you know, giving you a compelling, interesting, what's this character? And then Gina, his companion there, who's out throughout the game.
But to see, that's the thing. That's why I even said before, if this was just an animated Indiana Jones story, it's great. They nail what makes Indiana Jones Indiana Jones. The music, again, the characters, the voice, the comedy, everything that is in here. They nail that part of it. It's that moment to moment gameplay that there just wasn't enough here to tie it all together. Because I even said this during the preview. If you walk into this thinking this is Uncharted, you're going to be sorely disappointed. But even if you're thinking this is like a Tomb Raider or something that is a full-on stealth action game, you're going to be disappointed, unfortunately. And I was really hoping they were going to at least nail that part of it. Like, I feel like I am Indiana Jones and I'm going on this global adventure. From a story standpoint, yes. From a gameplay standpoint, like I said, those open zones hold it back. It really does. I think this would have played a lot better if it was just linear, in my personal opinion.
I want to stick on story for just 1 sec.
Fine.
Because we got a lot of gameplay stuff to get to. But just sticking on story, because Paris is definitely saying it's a highlight. And as an indie fan, he's like, the story's hitting for me. This is exactly what I wanted. Greg, everything you just said about respect indie and respect the stories. Do you think that this is a good story, and do you think it's a good Indiana Jones story?
I think it's a good story. I think it's a good Indiana Jones story. The problem is, but I'll stick with the story, I swear, because I do enjoy it, is that they put so much on the rack. They put so much on the skeleton they've made that when I played the Vatican, and that's the first open zone you get to, right? And again, open world, you can do whatever you want, right? But there's it's just a giant zone you can work within, right? I did the thing of, I'm Greg Miller. This is how I play the game. I am doing everything. You get to that, moment of like, Indy's like, all right, I should go do this thing. But before then, I got to wrap up. And I'm like, I got you, Indy. And I go and I'm like, okay, cool. I've done all the main side quests. Like, there's discoveries and stuff like that. But like, the side quests are done. I've done everything, right? And then I went off. When I went to do that, I got back onto the main Great Circle storyline. And it was like, wait, what's happening? But okay. And it was like, oh, you know what's happening. There's so much video game bloat put to this of side missions and things to go do. You're taking me so far off the golden path that I'm having trouble getting back onto it. And so what I did was, and I think I had the conversation with you actually, of after that first night or when I came in and was talking about this, I'm like, in the next section, I'm just golden pathing it because I'm very perplexed because the side missions reference the main bad guy. So it makes it seem, or the main bad guy for the Vatican, making it seem like their main mission. So can I do it without doing that? And And it sure as shit, you can. You can just golden path this and do this. The side missions they've created are going to tie back into the main path of explaining why this villain in this area has done this or what he's done, which is very cool in theory, but I think in practice gets you so far removed that once I got to the golden path and just committed to it, I think it takes a long. I went around the whole. Everybody asked me how this game is immediately, right? So I'm giving everybody updates here and there or whatever. And I think it was day 2 that I finished in the office and went home and had a section that cooked. That literally was like, this is what I'm talking about. This is great. And what was this section? Without saying it, Paris, I know you'll know. Oh. Shockingly, it was back-to-back levels that were linear, that weren't go do all this stuff. It was, we're going to rope you through this thing and do this thing, and that's happening, and you're falling, and then bam, this is happening. You've seen it in trailers, but I don't need to spoil what's going on, right? And I was like, that was awesome. And so then to get back to the main, that was like the jump start I needed for the main quest to keep going and just golden path, and golden path. And by the end, when we get to where we're going, I think it was like one of those, okay, cool. I like how this wrapped around and did this. Earlier on, I would have told you, I don't know who's who or what's what or that. Like, to get to it, I was like, you know what? This is a good, I like this as an Indiana Jones story. And the traditional, these fucking Nazis out there trying to find their supernatural things to, win the war or whatever. I was like, okay, I like where we got and I liked how this developed in the very end. But again, the game gets in the way of itself, which sucks.
Paris, any thoughts on story to wrap up that section?
I mean, he said the one part that I was going to bring up. There is a part there where it's more linear, and then this totally makes sense. From a story standpoint, it is ironically enough the side stories that kind of hold it back because they seem to be all over the place. But then they reference this, and do you really need to do it? No, you don't. But yeah, you could do it because it'll help you upgrade Indy. Okay, I guess I'll do it. But it takes away from the main story, which I think is pretty good because it is classic Indiana Jones. There's Nazis, there's mysteries, there's all that. You have your sidekick characters, things like that. There's the comedy elements to it that all work. They totally work. I think anyone that plays this for the story that is an Indiana Jones fan is going to really like it. I really do. I am concerned because I had an offline conversation yesterday about this too, where I was like, my main concern is going to be people that are not big fans of Indiana Jones or are brand new to Indiana Jones. I don't know if the gameplay, again, I know we're talking story, but I don't know if all the other stuff is going to distract you away from a main story that I feel is pretty good.
All right, let's jump over then to gameplay. Greg.
Sure. That's a big question, or not even a big topic.
What do you think is the most important aspect of gameplay to talk about here? Is it the combat? Is it the traversal, the puzzles?
I think in terms of what holds it back, you get into traversal and you get into combat. Yeah. And I think that's where it really shines through. I think I, again, echo everything we're saying about story and characters, and the game is gorgeous. We haven't mentioned that. The soundtrack is awesome. But it is these stagnant moments of staleness that break this thing down and make you go, this is where it all starts to unravel, right? I felt this much that I made clips to try to demonstrate at least where it is. And these are going to be clips we show, and you're going to go, well, that's how you played it, Greg, or that's how I did it. Right, this is my review, and this is how I did it, and I feel like this is how the game pushed me to do it, but this is my thing, and why would I ever do this otherwise to try to, whatever. Kevin, can we start with fighting, the combat one I put up or whatever? The clip you're about to see is a stealth takedown inside of Indiana Jones in the Great Circle, which is how I did everything. Because the enemies in this game are dumb. The AI is bad. The combat is also, I would say, bad. So as you see, I have a sledgehammer here. I'm moving into this section. This is one of the side missions. I need to go do this. And as I come in here, there's where I need to go. You come around the corner. There's going to be a guy at the end here. Oh, pause real quick if you can, Kev. Real quick, note for everybody here. I have a bug here that is now just permanent in my game, where my companion, as you will hear, will scream, "Oh God," over and over again. There's some other, "Oh, that was too close," and "Oh God," over and over again. It will interrupt me talking to other characters. I have reloaded. I have not only, this is bad. I quit out, came back in, redid the thing. Save still has it. I reset the save because they give you 3 checkpoints within your save. Reset the save, went back, she's pilots your boat when you're not there. Called her on the boat, same thing. So my game is permanently bugged, at least for the moment, where she will scream, "Oh God," and "that was too close" throughout. Meaning, and this doesn't matter. That's why she's screaming, "Oh God." Anyways, though, let it play, Kev. You see here, this is a guard staring inside of this fucking hole.
Hey, watching the hole.
Just watching the hole, which is not his thing. And so what do? I come over here, I hit the button, ring back, boom, hit him in the thing, cave in his skull with this thing.
Oh my God.
Right? Triple H style. A Triple H style sledgehammer, right? That is the gameplay that I did throughout the entire game. Like, it is, there's melee fisticuffs in this game, right? You only have to do it. I feel you only have to do it in boss fights or when you're found out, which we can jump to another clip if you want in a second, where I'll tease you. You'll see a thing, but it's only because I screwed something up, right? And then I had to do it or whatever. So I'm stealthing everybody this way, which, again, the game is dumb because I'm always having a weapon, right? So I will come around a corner, and even if I see the thing start filling in, if they know where I am, I'll do the room check of like, okay, well, there's you and one other guy. If I take you out before you can scream or whatever, no big deal. And I run over there and club them to death with the thing, pick up their club the other guy, right? And again, the AI is so bad that you can do this in our studio on this side of the room with Mike over there, and Mike won't understand that I've just done that. So I'm able to do that part of it, right? So that is combat 101, and for me, where it starts and stops. And then the game has all these different pamphlets of, okay, now you found this pamphlet, and if you want to invest your indie coins, which you're getting from discovering with your camera, you take photos, it gives you like sets of like 40 indie coins. They don't call them indie coins, exploration tokens. I don't know what they are.
Damn it, I was really.
But they give you these coins that when you get these pamphlets, you can go and do it. And guess what? Now you can reload your revolver faster. You can repair your revolver faster. You can aim down or reload your double things. You can have a stronger grapple, so it's harder to break out. And I'm literally getting these things going. I haven't done this once in the game. I picked up.
You don't need to.
I picked up repair kit after repair kit, not understanding what this was for. Finally, in the final section of the game, I was using my revolver and it jammed, and I needed a repair kit. I was like, oh, that's what that's for. It's like you're getting all these video game tropes that you just don't need to do in this game. Real quick,
go for it.
Me picking these tokens up 40 at a time, right? At the end of the game right now, I've bought everything I've ever gotten, thing for it, because why not? At the end of the game right now, I still have 4,800 tokens ready to spend on anything I get. And it's just like, what? What are you talking about?
So I want to jump from there because there's a lot of interesting stuff there. Paris, like, is there anything that you disagree with what Greg's saying? And is there anything that you're wholeheartedly, you're right?
And his main theme of what he said, the AI is dumb. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. So much so that it becomes disappointing. So I remember like early on in the Vatican, and again, you talk about bugs. Like I had a bug too. I had to scroll back checkpoints to clear it. And it was no spoilers, but to get in the fountain, it wouldn't let me go in. I was losing my effing mind. I couldn't figure it out. But anyways, so because I knew, I was like, all right, I got to go back. I was just purposely trying to die. I just went on rampage mode and I was fighting everybody and shooting people and all that. And people would just stand there and look around, and then they would call a couple of people over and it wouldn't matter. So there was no reactions to anything that I was doing regardless. So it was like, you realize this, you're in a game. You're in a game where there's no repercussions to what matters.
And that's such a problem and a detriment to it, is that this is such a great Indiana Jones performance, cast, story idea, that the fact that all this video game shit gets in the way of it to make you go, oh, this is just a game, is horrible. And it's not only bugs, it's design issues, right? One of the things you can unlock off the pamphlet is Lucky Hat. If Indy gets knocked down and he's in his Indy outfit because you wear disguises, you can look around and grab your hat, and then you get a second win to go at it.
Super cool.
Very cool on paper. And so Kevin's about to show you. I swung in here, fell by accident because, of course, we'll get back to how unintuitive so many of the systems are. But I swung in, fell here, and I was like, I'll fight my way out. Let it play, Kevin.
Away.
So I'm here. All right, cool. I don't never fight. I'm like, okay, I'll punch the shit out of this guy. He has a gun. I'm down. Okay, that sucks. Oh, wait, because this is, I think, second time I've ever had this pop up, maybe. I'm like, oh, right, I have the hat thing. Grab the hat. The two guys walk away from Indiana Jones, who just resurrected from the dead. Indy puts on his hat, turns around, I'm ready for them to fight me. They stand there like fucking robots with your back. Like, what? Why
would we looking at?
I just blow the dude's brain out.
Greg! Oh my god!
I just blow this Boy Scout's brain out, right? And it's like,
it's so much more violent than I expected.
It's one of those like, okay, that sucks. I don't like that. Another thing that sucks, Kevin, if you want to show Running with a Lemon. This is like, again, exploration, the open zone thing.
Hold on. I want to see this Running with a Lemon, and I want you to explain it, but I want you to do that, Greg, after a word from our sponsors.
Isn't it funny how the people we love the most are often the hardest to shop for? Luckily, there's one gift that everyone on your list is sure to enjoy, an Aura digital picture frame. Aura frames make it incredibly easy to share unlimited photos and videos directly from your phone to the frame. When you give an Aura frame as a gift, you can personalize it and preload it with a thoughtful message and photos using the Aura app, making it an ideal present for long-distance loved ones. I have one at my desk, I sent one to my mom, and I'm sending this bad boy to my dad for Christmas. Seriously, uploading photos via the app is so easy and such a nice way to share Ben's childhood with my parents, even though we're in San Francisco and they're in Chicago. Save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using promo code KINDAFUNNY at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code KINDAFUNNY. This deal is exclusive to you, our best friends, so get yours now in time for the holidays. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays. Get ready for this holiday season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have all of your gift-giving needs covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Durable frames and world-class optics for all outdoor adventures. With an extensive array of styles and colors, you're bound to find the perfect pair of Shady Rays sunglasses. Y'all know I've been outside in the sun a lot playing Pokemon Go, and it's always such a great experience wearing Shady Rays when I'm out and about looking dope. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Exclusively for you listening right now, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal. Head to shadyrays.com and use code KINDAFUNNY for 50% off 2 or more pairs of shades. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. ShadyRays.com. Use code KINDOFFUNNY for 50% off 2 or more pairs of shades. So I had to leave you on a cliffhanger here. Maybe the greatest cliffhanger of our time.
Running with a
Greg
lemon.
Miller talking about running with a lemon. What's going on?
So don't start it yet, Kev. I think we've talked about combat, we've talked about AI and how neither are great, right? The other big part I have for a game that has these open zones, these worlds to go explore, is that the exploration just isn't fun, and I think and/or rewarding, but that can be eye of the beholder kind of thing. I think with the clip we're about to see, kind of is a great picture of all of that. So, Kevin, if you want to start, I was walking through the deserts of Giza, right? And as you see, I forgot that it was my first time out and about in the open zone. And a Nazi's like, oh, there he is. I'm like, oh, I start running. But I was hurt, so I started to heal. And I was like, oh, no. And then pause it right here, Kev. You can't see it because of us being on screen, but there's a stamina meter hidden underneath there. Because again, in what I would refer to as, we need dumb video game shit in this video game. They're like, we will give Indiana Jones stamina, which for running, okay, I guess that makes sense, but I don't think you run enough in this game where we really need to worry about that. Then they have it for climbing. Okay, so you're climbing and it starts to get dark, but if you stop climbing and just hang on the ledge, the stamina fills back in. And you're really never being chased in a way that's it's a system that seems to just be there to be there. And one of the reasons I would assume it's there to be there is because if you eat fruit, you can buff your stamina. So I'm walking through Giza. I am spotted by the Nazis. I take off running because I don't want to fight them because I don't enjoy fighting them. I start to run out of stamina, so I eat a piece of fruit, and then it switches over to the next piece of fruit, which is this lemon, where I just then continue to just book it to the objective. So please play, Kev. You see me just running. Just Nazis are screaming at me. They're running. They know where I am. This now we're talking about how I don't like to fight them, so I don't want to do the fight because of the combat. Then we talk about AI. These guys see me. I'm red. They know I'm bad. I fall in the hole,
and you're not in disguise.
And they just erase it. They're like, "Fine, you're here. You're gonna talk to your character and move on the story." And again, that's not fun exploration. That's not fun traversal. That's not fun combat. That's world breaking, I feel, in terms of, oh, I'm eating this lemon. I ate a lemon.
You're just nomming on the lemon as you get punched off screen.
Punched by this other Nazi that I then ran past and did. And it's like, again, you could say, well, Greg, you're choosing to play that way. You're choosing to break it and run. Sure, I am, but why not just have it be that you're giving me cut the game down from 14 hours to 7 hours and have it be nonstop action. When I was complaining about this in the office, one of the things Nick pointed out as a joke was like, yes, well, how would they have a blueprint? It's not like the Indiana Jones movies are well-paced. When in reality, obviously, the original trilogy is so it's like one of the things those movies are lauded for, right? And the fact that they missed the mark this way, to the point again of how unfun exploration is. Kevin, can you show my final clip of boating? In one of the areas, it is all water, so you need to boat everywhere. And the boating is so boring. And to compare... pause it. This is, again, the bug. She's going to scream, oh, God. That was too close over and over again. So go ahead, sorry. This is just me trying to get to the next objective. And it's like, what the hell? Like, think of God of War in that boat and Mimir telling you stories and all this stuff. Occasionally, Gina here will engage with Indy about a conversation about what's going on or where you're going. But instead, I'm doing this, and I don't know, I'm using the Xbox built-in thing, so I'm just doing it in a minute.
Too close.
You can bring up your paper map, and you have to look at it, and then you got to put it down, and then you go to and there are fast travel points inside of the open zones, but they're signposts, so you actually have to physically get to the signpost and then choose the sign you want to go to, which annoyed the shit out of me so many times when I for as much backtracking as Paris already pointed out.
In the preview, I would say, in the preview, 2 of my highlights, I had 3 highlights that I want to talk to you about here, Greg. One of them was, I liked the signs. I thought that was cool. I thought that was a nice, in-world way to kind of, in a very Indiana Jones way to be able to fast travel.
Yeah.
I liked that the map, actually, you could pull it up and see where you are, move around as you are moving in the 3D space.
Yeah.
I'll save my third thing for later because these two are a bit more connected. In a longer experience, you didn't like that? Wait, Paris, you had your hand raised there.
Yeah, I had my hand raised because the map actually annoyed the shit out of me after a while. Because, again, navigation isn't intuitive.
Yep.
Like, I noticed in your gameplay, like, you constantly had the question mark thing up.
Oh, yeah.
I had to pull the map up for that to be highlighted to see. So I'm constantly pulling the map up when I needed directions on where to go, because you're constantly backtracking through these open zones. And again, this is why I keep saying this would have played out a lot better as a linear adventure than them trying to make it semi-open world, because it just became boring, unfortunately.
Let's pull off a thread out of that, right? You notice that I had my objective on screen at all times. One of the things they're pushing with this Indiana Jones game, of course, is customize it to your heart's content, but they want it to be an exploration. They want you to kind of have those discovery modes. So stuff on screen is very limited when you start, or depending on what you picked. I picked the middle of the road for adventure and combat.
Because they want it to be cinematic like the movie.
Normal difficulty, right? And what I found was that it wasn't making me feel more like Indiana Jones, because when I stop and I think of any of the open world games you love, right? It is that you're running and you can go left, you can go right, you can climb over that thing, you go under that thing. You can get where you need to go. Whereas Indiana Jones felt like I turn a corner, oh, it's a fucking dead end. I'm in the boat, there's a tree here, turn it around slowly, get back. So it became really quickly when I'm like, all right, I know the question mark's over that way. I'm going to go, oh, fuck, well, hold on. How do I, you know what? I'm looking at the map, pulling the map up. I feel like I'm a lost tourist in Italy, right? So I was like, I'm going to go in and turn that question mark on and just have that on. And I customized it to have that, right? This goes back to how I think unintuitive this game is, to its detriment. Again, video games, when you got these people who want to hate video games, oh, the legend's painted yellow, that thing's blah, blah, you know what I mean? They're calling these things out that are that way for a reason, right? So you're not frustrated playing it. The amount of times I'd be in a room, Paris, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you want me to do. Go into the menu, go to accessibility, turn on the highlights. Highlight what's interactable. I don't know where you want me to go. I have things pointed down. I'm in a room. There's spikes coming down in a trap. The woman I'm with is like, oh my God, blah, blah. And then she'll go, that wall, it looks fragile. And it's, again, the same AI. So it's just this crouched character saying that. No pointing, no question mark, no, even with the highlights on, no highlight going up. I died like 3 or 4 times in this thing, being like, all right, well, I'm going to run to where she is.
4 walls.
Then get in front of her. No, it's like, it was a much bigger room than that. Grab the thing. And I know what a breakable wall looks like in this game. I just could not find it. And it would happen with, oh yeah, there's a handle here and there's one over there. And so I'm like, oh shit. Well, in the other one, it was across the room, run across the room. This isn't it. Run across. Oh, it's right there. Eventually. It's like, there were so many things that get in the way of this feeling like I'm Indiana Jones. It makes me feel like I'm an idiot. You know what I mean?
If I had to go to Antonio's office one more goddamn time, I was going to lose my mind. Not to mention, and again, I'm trying to not spoil anything, but there's another puzzle earlier on where you have to get these beacons of light. I don't want to spoil it. But anyways, the point is there was clearly a thing where you have to use the whip. I'm like, okay. But it wasn't intuitive on what to do next, because I know what the objective is, but I'm sitting there just scanning the room trying to figure out what's next to do. And it was like, I don't want you to hold my hand, but at least make the level design more intuitive for people to figure it out. I mean, obviously I eventually figured it out, but it didn't make sense to me. And even during the preview, when I had a chance to talk to someone from Machine Games, I was pointing that out with something that happened in Giza as well. I think I said this in the preview, where I needed something to complete it, but the game let me get to this point without it. So I'm sitting there banging my head against a wall, not understanding why I can't progress in the game. So, and I just think there's multiple examples of that, as I played.
I have so many more written down that are that, where it's again like, all right, cool. There are all these scorpions. Gina's going to use light to scare the scorpions off. She says as much. The light is pointed to this one thing where the scorpions are. I hop to it. The scorpions start stinging me. And then the light moves a little bit. And I'm like, all right, hop back off. Hop back in. That's not what she wants. Run over here. Run over there. Okay. Then finally I'm like, okay, wait, climb on this thing that doesn't look like I should climb on it. Jump. All right, I'm on the wall. Great. Crawl along the wall. Now there's a piece blocking the next handhold. Okay. I do the 360 turn and look, I don't see anything. Drop, fall to my death. Okay, come back in. Maybe I'm missing fall to my death. What? Finally, I come off. I'm like, that can't be right. Run around, do stuff. No, come back, get over there, and finally get the camera in the right position that it actually cued the grapple for the whip. And what it reminded me of so many times, again, being the Uncharted fan, it really reminded me of every time we'd get a new Uncharted, and you would go, oh man, they fixed something from before. And really, you are playing Uncharted 1 here from Machine Games of, hey, there's lots of cool things here, but there's so many little annoyances that games like this have overcome because they've had so many shots at it and they've done so many things with it. And you just don't get that here. You're getting those little mini frustrations. Again, we are bagging on this, I feel like, a lot. I'm saying it's an okay game. When I was playing Indiana Jones, I was usually enjoying it enough. But it was that thing of every time I turned it off, I was never like, I got to get back to Indiana Jones. I can't wait to see what happens next. I can't wait to do this thing. And after rolling credits, like, again, incredible turnaround time here, right? It was like, well, I'd love to do more side stuff, but then I jumped into the side stuff today, and I have a not game breaking bug, but a game annoying as shit bug of Gina yelling, "That was close! Oh God!" Interrupting conversations. I was doing the side mission, right? And Gina, the character, starts talking to the guy who needs our help, and she's like, "What are you? Oh God!" And it just cuts the dialogue then, and that's it. The dialogue is over. I don't know what they're trying. I'm like, all right.
You know what it is, Greg. It's your point about there's a bunch of little annoyances in here. And like you said, it's 6.5. I'd say it's a 7, but it's those little annoyances that hold it back from being that 8.59 type of game.
Sure.
Because there's so much there with the character. Again, like we talk about the character, the story, the IP of what this is. This should be a lot better than what it is. And that's the frustrating thing, because a lot of these nitpicks that we have right now, these are things that have been solved in video games a decade ago.
Yeah.
So why are we doing this here in 2024 with this game, with this studio, with Bethesda game, with the IP of Indiana Jones? That's frustrating to me, because I was saying to someone offline that if this Indiana Jones was out of this, if this was Chicago Jones, you're not playing this game. I'm just being honest about it. You're playing it because it's Indiana Jones, because of the legacy, the nostalgia of it. If this was no name character and you dropped him into the same game with the same story, you would be so annoyed you would not play it, unfortunately.
Wow.
It's one of those, I'm trying to Google it and get it because I'm so old I don't remember it, right? What was it? Bethesda famously around Skyrim, right? Yeah, no, it was to talk about like what every X minutes there should be something interesting when you're out there doing the open world. I'm butchering this, you know what I mean?
I know what you're talking about.
And I feel like for Todd Howard in this to be a Bethesda game, but Todd Howard to be or published a game, and Todd Howard to be executive director on it, I feel like that was something that got tossed aside as something that should happen if you're gonna have these open zones. It should be interesting. I should want to engage in combat every chance I get because I'm being rewarded. Something's happening. It's going to be good. I understand that you can toss me my opinion out when I say it, but you know how much I enjoy Starfield for what it is. When I'm playing Starfield and I'm running from point A to point B, especially in Shattered Space, there were so many things that pulled my attention. Oh, that's interesting. I want to go do that. Oh, there's combat here. Of course, I'll fight this thing because I'm going to loot the guy to get something that'll make the next battle easier. Maybe it's just XP, yada, yada. That doesn't exist here, right? And again, Starfield is one of those of, I'm going to go right, I'm going to go left, I'm going to go over, I'm going to go under. I'm going to get to the objective I need to. It's off on that horizon. I'm going to find it. Whereas Indiana Jones really does feel like, fuck, what do you want me to do to get to the, shit, okay, do this thing, blah, blah, blah.
So the last thing that I enjoyed quite a bit about my time with the preview was how cool it felt and authentically Indiana Jones it felt that there was weapons everywhere and anything could be a weapon. Where you walk into a room and there's a wine bottle, there's a hammer, there's a shovel, there's whatever. You can pick it up and hit people with it. And it felt, in my very limited time playing, I was like, oh, there's way more than I expected here. How does that play out in the full experience?
Paris?
I think it's overdone, honestly. I think, sure, you can pick up the wine bottle, the random shovel, a toothbrush or whatever, and you hit the guy over the head. But that, again, goes into the gameplay aspect of it. Like, I feel like you can just cheese it.
Yep.
And a lot of that played into that. I'll just sneak up behind him. He's not going to turn around. I'll just hit him and boom, boom, boom.
And then the big thing of, hide bodies. Why? I'm just going to knock out the guy who the same AI that goes back and forth. I'll wait for his ass, knock him out too, and I don't have to worry about this. And then to say over and over again, hide bodies, but not have it like Metal Gear. Fucking Metal Gear Solid. We're talking of being able to put them in a locker or something. Like, no, we mean hide bodies just out of sight. Like walking behind a truck and drop them.
You would have expected when a body gets found and because an alarm does go off, right? They quote unquote get alerted. You're going to just spawn in enemies, right? So you're screwed. So it's going to encourage you to want to actually hide the bodies, to be more stealthy, stuff like that. That never happens. Sure, a couple characters get annoyed for a minute. You could run off, come back, and they're right back to their normal routine.
It just reminds me so much
of,
and this is a stretch, but it reminds me so much of Jurassic Park, the movie, right? When the dinosaurs realized the fence isn't electrified. When I did it first, I moved a body and I put it away, and then I got caught the first time hours in, and then I was like, wait, nobody's dynamically moving. This guy's always sitting on the cot. This one guy always walks in through the door and walks out. So just gunk, gunk. All right, don't need to pick any of you up because I'm just knocking every human being out as I go, which then made the weapons feel slapsticky and I think, again, take away from what Indiana Jones is. Then, of course, there's like, I'm going to knock the shit out of everybody thing. There's this great moment where I came up the stairs. There's a soldier who's just finishing his cycle. And I'm like, I can get him. And I run over to hit him. And he turns, and I was in a disguise as a clergyman. He turns and goes, oh, hi, Father. And I was like, hello. I'm like, hello. I'll put the bottom. It's like, what? And I think that might actually be the time where I was like, oh, cool. I'm in a safe spot. No big deal. And I dropped the bottle. I was like, well, there's a zip line down to the next thing. Like, are they going to care? And I zip line down and it set off the alert. So again, rather than fight these guys, just ran. Eventually got killed like right before the objective. But guess what? It gave me a save point well beyond where I was. So I just picked back up. No alert. Did my thing as a priest.
So this game has guns.
Yeah.
How often did you guys use the guns and did you enjoy it?
I believe, if you don't mind me taking the first one, Paris, I probably had 3 instances. No, maybe 2 instances of using the revolver as an actual pistol and shooting. You saw one there in the clip. I think there was one boss fight where I was like, you could shoot. I think it might have been turned off in the other ones. And then I picked up a machine gun once and shot, and I didn't like it, so I used it as a melee weapon and did that. Then there's a section in there where you have to shoot, like in a boat or whatever. But no, gunplay is not a thing I did in this game whatsoever. So again, when it's like, here's a pamphlet to do whatever to your guns, I'm like, I don't do that. Why would I care?
He nailed it. I mean, that's literally it. I think I had 2 encounters where I was using revolver. It's so funny you said that about the machine gun because I remember, and I think this, again, I don't want to spoil it, but one of the first times that you'll get it, I was using it and I was like, hey, this actually works better as melee because I just sneak up behind him and hit him in the back of the head and the gun doesn't break right away.
I don't alert everybody. I can just use it as a club. All right, great. I'll do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, Greg, here's the challenge for you. From a gameplay perspective, was there something you liked?
Yes, and I'm glad you did that. Again, I know we're bagging on it. It's a vent session for a game that this is always the hardest kind of game. You can see it. You can see, I'm telling you, I could see where this game could have at least been good, let alone great. You know what I mean? I feel like there's just design decisions that weren't good. You need to give a shout out, I think, to puzzle design. I think the puzzles are well done here. They are enjoyable. I felt, to Paris's point, like they're never, I am stumped and I'm going to be here for hours figuring this out. Sometimes they are incredibly brain dead of, there's a locked box here. And then I think I did this in front of Mike. There's a locked box here. I was like, why don't I just walk into the other room? There's the piece of paper. The combo is X, Y, and Z. There's a few of those, but there are a few that are like, there was one code breaking section that I was like, I put in the wheels and I got the thing and I looked and I had 2 sets. I was like, oh man, like, am I going to have to take notes actually to figure this out? And I was like, oh wait, hold on. And I did take notes and I did the thing. And I was like, that's great. And there's a few like, statue puzzles of this and that and figuring it out. And then cranking giant wheels and moving light and using these keys that spin things. And it's like, man, this is fun. And this feels like Indiana Jones. Again, like if they could have just half the game, we're dropping you in, you go through, you actually fight rather than 50 enemies you could possibly engage with. That's probably too many. 25 you could actually engage with. We will give you 7 that are really well thought out through this, bunker you're going through or whatever. You have to figure out different things to do it. Like that's a way better idea than what they did here, which I feel is just a watered down thing. But puzzles are really good. That there is that exploration of like, this is fun. This is cool. Again, I don't find the exploration to be rewarding as much. You can go off the beaten path and find this relic, and it's like, cool, I found a relic, and you put it away. Okay, and then there's, I think one of the things I complimented Dragon Age so much on was like, you want me to go right, I'm going to go left, and inevitably there's a treasure chest, there's a piece of armor, there's something cool down there. So many times in indie, you want me to go that way? I'll go, it's a dead end. I went down this thing, and there's a blown out wall, nothing here, maybe another melee weapon to pick up, but nothing that made me go, oh, cool. And even the notes and stuff like that, you're picking up so many recipes. It's like, okay, like, it's quirky a few times, but then you put it in here like, well, why do I want to pick any of this up? It gives me the exploration bucks or whatever to upgrade Indy when I get the thing, I guess, but no.
Paris, any thoughts on the puzzles expanded on what you were saying earlier?
Yeah, I mean, the puzzles is the highlight of the game. And I know we've been kind of, more negative Nancy, in this description, but they felt rewarding once you solved a puzzle. I was like, I like this. To your point about going off the beaten path, there was, like you said, there was dead ends and things, but there were some times where, ooh, a secret, you find this thing. It's like, oh, I am glad that I went off the beaten path and I found this thing. There just wasn't enough of those moments, unfortunately. It's like, again, when I compare this to the movies, and I get you're trying to, and I think what you said about Nick is probably spot on. This probably would have played out better as a 7 or 8 hour experience where maybe I'm not having so many combat moments in the game and you can make them a little more challenging, but fewer, if that makes sense, right? To where it feels more rewarding that you're doing it. Be Indiana Jones, be that archaeologist and you're solving these riddles and these mysteries and things along the way to get to your ultimate objective, I think would have worked a lot better. But when you had those moments, they were great. There was just too much of that filler stuff in between getting to those moments, I think is the best way to explain it.
I really, with what I'm about to say, I want to stick on what this game is, not on what it could have been otherwise. But in the switch between first to third person, when it comes to the main gameplay being first person, and when you're on ropes or things like that, it goes to third. Would you describe that integration as seamless?
It's fine. It never bothered me personally.
Yeah, when I was playing it, I want to say it was Barrett, but it might have been Mike. Watched it, and went, ooh, and I was like, honestly, playing it, it was never jarring. The most jarring thing for me would be that when you quit out of the game and reload it, like the main menu will be Indy standing there, and it'll say continue or your options or whatever, and it's Indy standing there. You're looking at his back or whatever, and it like literally is like where you left off. And so then you click it, and it'll do this thing where Indy then takes and puts his hat on, and then you pop in as Indy. And every time in the beginning, it got me where I'd hit start and I'm like, why can't I move? Oh, right, I'm gonna fucking, it's first person. You know what I mean? I was like, I gotcha. And I really wish it wasn't. Like, again, not to get into what it is or what it isn't. Like, I think it's Indiana Jones. You paid for Harrison Ford's likeness, right? Like, I'd much rather see Indy the entire time and feel like I'm watching the movie than feel like I'm him. And again, when it's Indy running around with a fucking lemon in his right hand, chomping on it while some Nazi kicks him in the head. Like, this doesn't feel like Indiana Jones, which is so heartbreaking because there are the moments when you are like, damn, this feels like Indiana Jones. Like, I forget which reveal it was, whatever, maybe a developer showcase, you tell me, where we saw the snow stuff with them on the boat, remember? And there's the grenade and it's snowing and the Nazi monologues and all that. Yeah, exactly. Like, I remember watching that and being like, I don't know. That's a section where I'm like, this is hitting. This is hitting really well for how we got here, what we did, the performance right before that. Right before it, there was a moment where I was like, oh, okay, I see y'all acting. You're doing something here. I like that. But then we're back to chomping on fucking bread so I have more health. All right.
Paris, did you like it being first person?
Yeah, like I said, I was fine with it being first person. That never took me out of the moment. Like, man, this would have been better if it was, over the shoulder kind of gameplay. I don't think that was the problem at all. I just think they needed more. There needed to be the gameplay was too simplified when it came to the combat stuff. And I don't think that was because it's in first person. I played plenty of first person games where it was fine. So no issue there.
Well, wrapping this up, do you have any final thoughts on Indiana Jones and the Great Circle?
I do. If I could say one thing, because again, I realize as we're talking, it just seems like you're like, why are you even giving this a 7? It sounds like you didn't like it. I'm liking the game. It is what it is. I just see something there that could have been more. And it is Indiana Jones. Again, I cannot praise Troy Baker enough. If I ever get a chance to meet him, it's probably the first thing I'm going to say is like, dude, you literally own this role. You're Indiana Jones now. I think the puzzles were a lot of fun. I had a great time with that. Again, you already mentioned it, Greg. I wish there was more Tony Todd in the game. And obviously RIP with him, but I think he was good. There's great performances in this game as an Indiana Jones adventure. It's fantastic. They nailed that. Machine Games nailed Indiana Jones. There's no complaint here with that. It is the video gamey stuff of it that I have a complaint about, whereas I thought it could have been better. And that's just unfortunate. So that's why I landed on 7.
Greg?
Yeah, I think that's, the final thoughts on this, right, are disappointment. And not that it is a terrible game. It's the fact that I feel like they were close. You can see there's so many things they did right, but then they did so much, I feel, wrong in terms of making this a video game, which again isn't bad. It isn't horrible. It isn't it just takes away from this end product that I think could have been something really special, getting to be Indiana Jones, play an Indiana Jones movie. But then when it is this, I'm boating around like that. I think that's the most interesting thing. I like the puzzles. I like the side stories, and again, how they connect to the main thread. But to get to those side stories, to get to those side missions is such a chore and is so not enjoyable. I won't turn Indiana Jones back on. Now that we're done, now that we're reviewed, it's an uninstall and I move on, which sucks. Because I'd much rather it be, first off, I had 2 weeks with the game and I did everything, or I finished it for a review, that's great, and now I can't wait to go back. But today, loading it up, and I'm like, let's go do some side missions. One of my other reviewer friends said cool stuff was happening over here, and I thought this one sounded cool when I heard it. I'm going to go do that. I jump in to go do it, and I get this bug of Gina saying, oh, no, that was close. Oh, God. That sucks, and I can't fix that. And then even if I could, getting in the boat, you know what I mean? Too few and far in between. No, it's over for me, which sucks.
Well, everybody, that is Paris and Greg's thoughts on Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Let us know if you are still hyped for this, if you are an indie fan yourself, and anything else you want to talk about here. Kind of funny. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for this review and for all of our other reviews. Until next time, I love you all. Goodbye.